Hi there, I'm Trunks from Dragon Ball Z Abridged, and these are the Anime Egotists. You know, in the future, podcasts are a little bit different. They're actually from pods. You know, people trying to hide from the androids and everything. I had a favorite podcast for a while, but it got canceled. By the androids. They got killed by the androids. Don't get killed by the androids!
And welcome back to the Anime Egotists, where we fight dirty.
All the time. If you don't fight dirty, you're not fighting at all.
Exactly. And my name's Alex, and if you try to hurry me out of a parking spot, I guess I just have to sit there until we both die.
Yeah, I'm the same. I might go back into the store to get something. And I'm Richard.
I've actually done that before. But yeah, we are the Anime Egotists, and we talk about a lot of stuff that happens in anime. But sometimes the most interesting stuff is the stuff that doesn't happen.
Exactly. Something big on YouTube, especially with shonen animes I've noticed lately, are what-if scenarios. Taking an element of the story and retelling the story from the point of view of, well, what if this happened? Or this didn't happen? Or so-and-so changed their character at this point, kind of things.
Yeah, what would happen if Naruto got one less bowl of ramen that day? Well, there's so much that could have changed. It's a butterfly effect sort of thing. But that's what we're here to talk about. Some what-ifs in the anime that we enjoy, and maybe even some of the anime we don't enjoy. I haven't read your list yet. But who knows? Maybe we'll do longer videos about these. We want to try something a little bit different.
Yeah, I'm gonna my honorable mentions are probably gonna be the ones that you don't know about because they're a bit harder to discuss.
Alrighty then. And do you want me to go first?
Sure, go ahead.
Alright, we didn't talk about these beforehand, but I have a Pokemon one. I kind of just want to get it out of the way.
Okay.
What if Ash left the series after Johto?
Okay. We kind of discussed this one a little bit beforehand, but I had something similar as well.
I wanted to get it out of the way. Basically, look, we all love Ash, Misty, and Brock. We all love the original trio. But honestly, a lot of people would have argued maybe his character is kind of stale nowadays. Like, people don't really know who Ash Ketchum is. Plus, not to think that if he got replaced or left, the series could have gone in different directions. Not necessarily gym battles or contest battles, but maybe more of a focus on evil team or a new mechanic, something like that. Part of me just wonders, would the series have really faltered that much? Maybe it would have tanked after Ash left. Maybe not. Maybe it would have been going even stronger now. But overall, it's just something to think about. I don't know who would replace him, and I legitimately don't have an idea about it. But overall, I think it could be interesting. It's a good alternate universe scenario.
Yeah, it's one that we've talked about before. I could see them kind of doing game characters. The thing with that is Ash very closely resembles Red, of course, through the series. He's kind of looks like Ethan/Gold a little bit, just with his hat forward most of the time. So I could see them replacing kind of Brendan comes in because Brendan was such a change in design for the male protagonist, or may have been the main protagonist for the next series.
Yeah, honestly, I like as much as we talk about it, I wasn't even considering that. I kind of just mean like in the way I was kind of thinking it as in a because to me specifically, everybody says, "Oh, right after Kalos," or "Oh, right after Diamond and Pearl." I'm like, I don't know. I think Johto would have been a great start, especially since that's kind of where everything ends. Like, would Pokemon have been that much different in terms of popularity had they gone the Yu-Gi-Oh! Or the Persona or the JoJo's route? Well, JoJo's maybe a little bit because JoJo's gets kind of weird, but you understand what I mean.
Yeah, just give them 2-3 seasons, then change the main character out for someone new. You can have the characters return in movies and specials kind of thing, like what they do with what is it, Battle Dimension Yu-Gi-Oh! The Across the Second Dimension, or whatever it's called.
Bonds Beyond Time.
That's it. Where they have both Jaden and Yugi show up again, kind of thing.
Exactly. Like it's something we've talked about before, but I put a little bit of a different spin on it. So I'd like to think it's something different.
Okay. I mean, I can agree. It would be an interesting one. That could be the next series of Pokemon. Pokemon What Ifs. It's just it goes back throughout the entire series and changes little tiny details.
What would have happened if Ash didn't wear those rubber gloves when he met Pikachu? His hands would have been fried, but then they would have been completely fine within the next 2 seconds.
What if he didn't tie Pikachu up and drag him by a rope around for the first episode?
Hey, Pikachu was a jerk back then. Actually, I'm convinced that behind the scenes, Pikachu's the worst person to hang out with.
All right. So my next one.
Go for it.
So I'll do my Pokemon one as well. Mine's not as changing to the anime as yours was.
Oh no.
It actually has to do with my favorite Pokemon. What if Misty won the battle and got Totodile instead of Ash?
Okay.
I feel like Totodile would have been a much bigger part in this series at this point. It would have been probably another one of Misty's Pokemon that like it pops out of its Pokeball all the time, like Psyduck does its dances. I'd like to say Misty finishes either as runner up or wins the World Cup in the end. And when things later on happen, she's like when she returns in different animes, it's evolved, so it's Crocodile or Feraligatr later on.
Of
It's
course.
it's not a big change. It's just I could see Totodile being more. It wasn't Ash didn't really use it as much as like Meganium. Meganium was used heavily, in my opinion, in Johto by comparison. So I could see it being more heavily used if it had become Misty's Pokemon and would have kind of been a good transition because we went from in Gen 1 and 2, Ash had all three starter Pokemon from both generations to he got Trico in Gen 3, and that was it. So okay, now he's got Cyndaquil and Bayleaf, and we'll leave Totodile for Misty and kind of slowly transition away from having all three.
It's a small change, but I definitely think it could have helped, especially since, well, it's a water type Pokemon. It could have helped. Like, its personality kind of clashed with Misty's at times, because Totodile's, like, happy to be alive and stuff. Not
Mm-hmm.
to mention, and if that's the case, I did think of this other one. I did think, what if Brock had gotten Charmander instead, considering he was the one actually taking care of it, and Ash is like, oh no, I guess I'll just take it for some bizarre reason, but
Brock lost his right to Charmander when he used the drying pan joke in that episode.
he gained the right to do so. That joke kept him around for 3 more seasons. But regardless, I think it could have worked. Or it's like I have to be consistent. I've never necessarily liked when Ash catches all three starters. It never really works out for me. I prefer Ash, Brock, and the girl having the stars, or Ash, the girl, and somebody else. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just it leads Ash to using more different Pokemon than just okay, he's gonna have two base form starters and one that's gonna be his main one most of the time. I mean, I guess in Gen 4 he uses two, but they both end up fully evolved, but that's like the only time that that actually happens.
I don't remember his Turtwig doing a whole lot by comparison, though.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like, oh, you've got a fully evolved Torterra, and now it's just kind of there.
Hey, we have to be careful. We can't upset the Pokemon fan base, because Lord knows we've never done that before.
Yep.
No, but I can co-sign. I definitely. Plus, it would have just given Misty a little more to do. And as much as I like Johto because it gave her more to do, it still could have been more.
As I said, I think this would have been cool for like I think with Totodile, she finishes higher up or wins the World Cup was the main big change of the series. She finishes in like the top 16 or top 8. I can't remember which. So this would give her like runner up or first place, I think would be cool with
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I can co-sign onto that.
All right. So your next one?
Alright, it's a Naruto one. We talk about death a lot when it comes to Naruto, and this is one that I think could have been interesting had they reversed this death. What if Jiraiya had stayed alive?
Okay.
I know it was necessary to the story, but part of me is still not over it, and neither is the rest of the internet. I don't know. I just think that maybe Orochimaru's turn to the good side with Jiraiya still being alive, or maybe they bring him back right after the battle with Pain and everything. I don't know. I feel like it could tie up a lot of stuff. For example, Orochimaru's thing. Maybe he could have had a hand with training Konohamaru or a couple of other Genin. He wouldn't have to be doing a whole lot in Boruto per se, but just something along those lines. And especially considering it always rubbed me the wrong way that he was like the one person who Nagato did try to bring back.
Yeah, I kind of see that. I could see him and Tsunade kind of taking over as like the new village elders.
Right.
So they always and I can also see them having secret conversations. Like I know in Boruto, when it's revealed Mitsuki's Orochimaru's son clone thing, um, I could see it being like Jiraiya is 100% new already. It's like y'all didn't realize.
Look at what he looks like.
So I could see this being absolutely hilarious. It's him and Tsunade settling down, not necessarily as a couple, but as like because I don't know. I know Jiraiya always had feelings for her, but I don't know. I know Tsunade lost her fiance earlier in the series, so there's bits and pieces like not romantic, but just kind of just there. They settled down together, but not necessarily as a couple.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Yami and Black Clover when he tells Charlotte, "Hey, if we're both still single, let's just get old and take care of each other." But he doesn't realize she might be on board for that because, well, he's an idiot.
Which kind of matches. But the thing is that they both know that Jiraiya loves Tsunade, and Tsunade kind of loves him, but doesn't necessarily love him in that way.
Yeah. Not to mention, I guess this is kind of a mini thing. We all love Naruto as a character, but it always kind of bothered me how later he just kept relying more and more and more on the nine-tailed fox when you could maybe count on one hand how many jutsu he actually learned. I just feel like Jiraiya maybe could have had a little more stuff to teach him.
I could have seen him being seriously injured, and he returns to the village and decides that it's time that Naruto learns Sage Mode, and he's the one who takes Naruto to Toad Mountain or whatever it's called to start studying and becoming Sage. And maybe he's like, okay, I need to master this finally. I've got my imperfect Sage Mode that requires the two Elder Toads to balance me out to finish it. So that could have been interesting if they both returned as sages. Full.
Yeah, and it especially sucks because I feel like the second Sage Mode was introduced, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And it's like, oh, what's that? You already learned another transformation? Oh, cool.
Yeah, and Naruto's lost way too many parental figures. It's like throughout the series, it's like, why did he have to lose Jiraiya as well? It's like now he
Yeah,
has Kakashi and Iruka, and Iruka's over there.
yeah. Yeah, but overall, like I know his death was kind of instrumental and like crucial in some aspects, but I think some aspects could have been cool if Jiraiya stayed alive. Plus, I really like Jiraiya.
Yeah, I can 100% agree to this. This would be a either fun what if or another one of those moments that we've talked about multiple times in Naruto where a character should have survived instead.
Yeah, I thought about saying Neji, but I'm like, nope, I've brought that up way too many times. It's too easy.
Yeah, I can kind of, as I said, I'll completely co-sign. I think this would be really interesting.
Okay,
So I'll do my Naruto one as well now. So this is a big change. Like I mean, it completely rewrites the series.
please
And
don't make it if Naruto was a new Uchiha or something like that.
no, no,
Oh
no.
thank God.
It's literally it completely changes the end of the original series. What if Naruto won against Sasuke? So he knocks Sasuke out, um, and Kakashi shows up and takes them both back to the village. So we have Sasuke who's unlocked his second form curse mark, but he's not with Orochimaru.
Okay.
This one is weird because it's going to completely change the series because is Sasuke locked up because he did abandon the village, or is he like under heavy supervision, but still getting trained by Kakashi? Where do you go with this one? There's so
Yeah.
many ways you could go.
Plus, what's to stop him from just leaving again in some aspects? Like, just, oh, we brought you back? All right, I'm heading out.
As I said, I think it'd be interesting because I think Kakashi would probably push to keep Sasuke free, but it'd be one of those that he's probably under Anbu surveillance. We might get more Danzo introduced a little earlier in the series where Root is the one in charge of, okay, I'm going to keep an eye on him now. And then Kakashi's having to go back and forth and train Sasuke and try to prevent him from trying to escape and stuff. Be an interesting thing. I thought it was an interesting one. It's just it changes the story a lot, so it's a lot to go through.
It is kind of at the same time, though. I kind of feel like, in a sense, it kind of could follow in the path of Sasuke being like, "Oh, okay, Itachi, you were an Anbu and you betrayed everybody," before he obviously learns the truth. And maybe that's kind of where he's like, "I don't want to be a part of Team Seven necessarily, but once we move on and become Chunin and Jonin, maybe I'll stick with the Anbu." Because in a sense, that's kind of what he's doing right now. Not specifically with the Anbu, but he's running around getting information and all that sort of thing. It could be something similar. I don't know.
Well, the more I'm thinking about this, I could see that like Danzo ends up taking Sasuke and because of his partnership with Orochimaru, even in Shippuden and all that, where they're still kind of working together, he sneaks Orochimaru in disguised in whatever body Orochimaru's in to run his experiments and stuff on Sasuke in the village itself. So Sasuke's wandering around and still becoming darker and still getting trained by Orochimaru. It's just he's still a Leaf Shinobi. It might also make the whole him wanting to destroy the village a bit more of a bigger impact because like okay maybe he's throughout this point he's still a Leaf Shinobi and then he goes and faces Itachi and it becomes a bigger oh I want to destroy the Leaf now kind of thing.
Yeah. Heck, I could almost kind of see Itachi. Like, I don't necessarily know how it would work, but Itachi could even be like to somebody, "Hey, Sasuke is getting a little more dangerous, I'm noticing." And that could maybe be a point where people are learning, wait, is Itachi on our side, or what's the deal here?
I could see like a crow showing up for Tsunade um, saying the third promised or something, and that's all we get. It's like we know crows are associated with Itachi, and we start wondering what did third promise Itachi when it came to this and
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Not to mention the whole Taka or the Hebi, whatever the hell they were called. Well, I feel like at some point they could kind of realize, oh man, this guy's dangerous. Maybe we should like become good guys or something. Karin obviously would take the longest because she liked him for whatever reasons. I feel like Jugo would be because I never feel like they got Jugo right. Like maybe they find a way to save him but keep his powers intact or something like that. Like I can finally rest easily knowing I can control myself. And Suigetsu would just be like, oh yeah, sure. I got nothing else to do.
Do I get my big sword? Okay,
Sure,
I'm good.
sure. All right, yeah. That's all I need. That's all I got. But yeah, I can co-sign on to that. It was a complicated one, but we found a workaround for it in some aspect.
As I said, it's like the biggest what if though in the entire series is because I've heard it multiple times by multiple different what if creators. How do you what happens if Naruto wins that the big epic battle there?
I haven't necessarily heard what happens if he wins. I've just heard like what happens if he just never left in the first place, like Kakashi turns him around or something.
Hmm. I've heard this at least this one's kind of like the start, but everybody seems to go their own way trying to figure out how they want Sasuke to be, how they want Naruto to be, and all that with such a big change to their characters.
Yeah. But yeah, I can co-sign. I think it could be an interesting what if.
All right, and your next one?
Alright, this is gonna be a little bit of a weird one, but hear me out. What if Yuno joined the Black Bulls in Black Clover?
Okay,
Honestly, as much as I love the rivalry between Asta and Yuno, it does feel kind of strange how we really don't see Yuno all that often by comparison. And you could argue that he is a main character. I don't know. In some aspects, I also think Yuno's more serious personality clash with the Black Bulls could have led to some hilarious moments, especially when they're in the hot springs and Yami's like, "Hey, we're gonna go look over at those girls," and Yuno's like, "No, that's okay." Hey, it's like, "Are you getting smart with me?" And Asa's like, "No, that's just Yuno. Please don't hurt him."
I could see that. So how would you do this? Would you do it like he's obviously the strongest one there, but then it's revealed he's a commoner, and so only Yami steps up for him or something. So
Something like that. And honestly, Yuno could even be like, "He's a little weird, but I respect Captain Yami." Kind of like the rest of the Black Bulls do, because he's kind of their dad. He's kind of their dad in some ways.
I could see that, and it just I could see him being still getting promoted faster than like anybody else. How he goes through, and I know he's what like a great magic knight or something, and
Something like that. He progressed ridiculously fast.
yeah, he's like the like third in command of the Golden Dawn Army or something.
Well, based on some stuff in the anime, that's not that hard. But I don't want to get. But just in case for anybody who hasn't seen that, I'm not going to talk about it too much.
Yep, I still need to catch up. I'll eventually get around to it. It's on my list.
Hmm.
But
Not to mention, I know people are going to jump on me for saying this, but I actually really like Yuno's interactions with Noelle. Like she'll I love Noelle, but she's basically a tsundere, and she'll just clown him, and he'll be like yeah, but I'm like stronger than you, and I'm faster, and you're not good at this trash talk thing, are you? I don't know. I think their interactions are funny enough that I'd want to see more of them.
and I could see episodes like the one where oh god, what are their names? The ones that go into the town, and um it's the one where Noel follows Asta and the two other guys from the Black Bulls into town to it's is spying on them because there's like a date or something.
I know one of them was Finral.
Okay, well, but yeah, but it's Noel and Yuno are together, and Yuno's just like, well, I'm just here to make sure Asta doesn't hurt himself. And but he keeps saying little things like, oh, they would make a cute couple, and everything like hurts Noel.
I am personally okay with that. Not to mention, since Charmy ends up with a crush on I'm sure I'm her favorite person ever for saying all of this.
Yeah, I always pictured, and tell me if I'm wrong. Is he like he'd be the most oblivious person to like this sort of thing?
I mean, let me put it to you this way: he's oblivious, but not like. Let me put it to you this way: hey, a lot of anime characters, from what I can tell, come across as oblivious and stupid. He's just kind of oblivious about it. So, in a sense, he kind of is.
Okay, I can understand that. Yeah, I think that would be an interesting one. Um, it would. The only issue I have with it would make their like connections with the other uh what are they Magic Knight squads.
The Golden Dawn.
Well, no, just all of them feel less. There's not as big of a need for the connection as
Oh,
there is.
yeah, I understand that to some extent, which is kind of why I'm just like it's just a what if, because some people
Mhm.
complain that they're not on screen enough together for it to matter, which I understand where they're coming from, but I don't necessarily disagree. I just want it just
Mhm.
kind of it just kind of came together for me. I thought about saying mimosa, but I just didn't want to get into the rabbit hole of a love triangle because that just that doesn't interest me in the slightest.
No, I can understand that. So I'll co-sign. As I said, I think I like where he's at just because it gives them a reason to meet with the Golden Dawn. It gives them that connection. It's like, oh, by the way, when they do the what is it, the Star Wars or whatever it is, and it's like,
Right.
by the way, the Black Bulls who have been in last place for the last decade are now the number 2 squad. It's like, okay, okay.
I remember, and Gordon talked for one of the first times ever. It was terrifying, but it's not like I said. It's not necessarily that I don't like where they're at. It's just just something to think about.
Okay. As I said, I'll co-sign. I think it would be an interesting. Like, I don't know if it when the anime comes out, because it's on hiatus right now while the manga gets farther ahead, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
and there's a movie coming out. I don't specifically remember if the movie is the arc they're still doing or if it's something completely different.
Okay. Then it could do a let's go back in time, and they reverse time. It's revealed. It's like, okay, well, what if we change this? And they make that little change and do a whole. They could do a whole movie about it.
Yeah, works for me.
All right. So my next one.
Go for it.
So we kind of talked about this one in characters we kind of thought should turn good, I think, if I remember correctly. And that's what if the Ginyu Force turned good and like decided Goku was their new leader. So it's
Oh,
Captain Goku.
oh God. I feel like he would not take them seriously in the slightest.
I don't either, but I think they would Goku would be like, well, y'all are good training partners, and he would just keep training with them. Because this is kind of before Vegeta would be on Earth to train with Goku. Maybe they follow him to oh god, what's the planet? They're
Yardrak?
yeah, so and he uses them as like training, and they just keep following him around, and he's so confused about it.
Oh God. Well, we've talked about it before, and like I said, I'm always on board with more Ginyu Force. Because frankly, I kind of believe, if anything, I feel like even though it's like as strong as I feel like they can get, I also could just see them doing something stupid, like getting their own in-universe TV show or something like that.
I could see that. Like they start out at Capsule Corp, Bulma's about to kick them out, and then it's revealed that oh, by the way, we've got a TV deal where we're advertising new Goku brand something or other.
I don't know, maybe they start selling those geese and wigs or something like that.
Yeah. But then I could also see them when it comes time for it, like before the Android saga, they start training the Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, and Chaozu and getting them stronger because I mean supposedly at least at that point they're supposed to be stronger than most of the humans. So
It still confounds me that Vegeta struggled to beat the Ginyu Force, but then the second they show up in Otherworld, Tien, Yamcha, and Chaozu were able to take them down like it was nothing. That's still one of the war. That's still just stupid to me.
yeah, so as I said, at this point let's make the humans as I said, they survive, they end up joining Goku. Goku kind of uses them to train the humans because he's like, well, I can't get anything from training with the humans anymore. So you raise them up to the point where they can train with me again, kind of thing.
And then finally, it's just like, oh well. And when it's like, oh well, there's this way we can beat Majin Buu by fusing, and all five of them are like, oh, we'll all fuse together. It's like, no, you can't fuse all five of you together. Uh, no. And maybe the
They,
second they finally are about to accomplish it, like they get blasted or something.
well, I could see them coming up with their own version of the fusion dance and like coming together as this just monstrosity. It's the
Well, there is a video game where five people can fuse together. That's kind of why I was thinking. Oh, well, they could tease it, and that knowing them, they could tease it, but nothing would come of it, and I would be very sad.
yeah, and I could see them just again. I think unfortunately they would eventually be relegated to the background, kind of like the others. But I could also see them partnering with like after if the story continues relatively the same, maybe if few people are stronger, uh, when Gohan becomes the Great Saiyaman, they become his sidekicks,
Oh gosh.
and they're just bad disguises. They're not like it's obvious exactly who they are.
He has a shirt that says, I am not Captain Ginyu.
But like I could see like Rakuman's just got like something tied around his eyes, and that's it. It's just a mask, but he's still wearing the like. No,
Well, he is really dumb, so I kind of do see that. But yeah, we've talked about it before, but I still like the idea of them surviving, turning good, just anything at this point.
as I said, I think this was a good chance to discuss what actually happens. We've just talked about them wanting them to be good. I think, but what I don't see them having a big impact on the story besides training other people and being background comedic characters.
Yeah, but I can understand that.
All right, your next one.
Well, if we're gonna knock your Dragon Ball one out of the way, I'll knock mine out. What if Goku stayed dead ish?
Which time?
The Cell Saga.
Okay.
I always was curious, well, besides the Great Saiyaman stuff, because no matter how many memes we get out of it, it just wasn't terribly interesting in my opinion. I kind of like the idea of, oh, well, I'm going to pass on basically protecting everybody, and I'm going to stay gone so people don't keep coming after you guys. Now, of course, they're going to keep coming. They're going to keep showing up. But maybe it would have been a more of a chance for different characters in that sort of regard. Heck, I'd like to see Goku and see what he's doing in Otherworld, because it's not just like he's just sitting around watching soap operas or something. So maybe if they had kept them gone for maybe even the rest of Z, and then maybe when Super starts, they decide, okay, let's bring him back now. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of the whole five Saiyans must hold hands and transfer their energy into another. So what if, okay, so Goku's dead. They find out about Beerus attack going to Earth, and we've gotten hints that Goku's gotten stronger. So this pretty much gets rid of what was it, Super Saiyan 3. But Goku comes back at the start of Super. They have to wish him back with the Dragon Balls, because that's what they have to do at this point. And he comes back as the Super Saiyan God. At this point, he's developed God Ki while training in Otherworld.
Yeah, and it actually makes sense in a way. Hey, not to. I was also thinking they bring him back like right before the tournament of power. It's like, oh guys, I got somebody else who can help us out. Who? Frieza, and they're like, what? What? No, no, that's a horrible idea. And then they still end up doing it because they didn't have much of a choice.
And what if, well, in this case, then would Goku go, well, Frieza and I became best buddies instead of him and Vegeta? It's him and Frieza now.
Oh God, no, that would mess with so many people. Well, and it could even play out the same way. Like Frieza could still be the type of person who's like, I'm not going to be a full blown hero, but like I said, Frieza has changed over the years. But overall, maybe it would have changed a lot. But I don't know. I don't know. Goku staying dead, even just a little bit longer, could have been interesting.
Yeah, it would have changed how things ended, and maybe we would have reached the point where Gohan could have carried the show like it was kind of leading towards, but they gave up on that so fast. Because I know that, and I understand people were not happy when it's like, okay, Goku's not going to be the hero anymore, but Gohan was set up to become like the next generation, I'm stronger than my father at this point, because at this point we were expecting it to happen, and then it didn't.
Yeah, but then again, it kind of seems like they weren't that committed in other areas because I remember Gohan was like, not Gohan, Goten was laughing about something, and Gohan's like, huh, Goten really is kind of like dad. Makes me wonder if he'll be stronger than all the rest of us. I'm like, wait, so Gohan, you're just giving up already? Okay, sure, why not?
Yeah, now Goten's just kind of there. Gohan is just, well, he's still just kind of there in the series. I don't know about in I don't know what to call, whether to count the movie that just came out or not.
I
So
still say super fixed Gohan a good bit. Just the show itself.
it did. It's too bad that it kept having issues with him going seeming to regress again and then come back and then regress again and then come back. So,
Well, neither of them are all that strong compared to Chi Chi, so it almost doesn't even matter.
well, yeah, she's the ultimate human. She developed Ultra Instinct years before Goku did.
I'm saying I would rather train under Chi Chi than anyone else, but I would be way too scared to ask.
All right. But yeah, I think this would be an interesting one to pursue, whether if they ever do decide that they need to move on from Goku, he's gotten to a point where he can't remain the strongest character, or the guy who has who can't, how to put it. He's the guy who can always break his limit.
Yeah, basically.
All right. So my next one.
Go for it.
So this is another one I know you'd be able to talk about a little bit with me, and we kind of it's another one we've talked about a little bit before, but I want to know what you would think it would be, and that's if Morgana actually developed a palace. So I know this is kind of cheating because it's a video game first, then an anime series, but
It's basically the same thing. I say God Eaters 2 stuff all the time, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So as I told y'all, I watched the series all the way through, and there's a scene where Morgana's having like a nightmare, and he like it seems like he's got a shadow in him because there's it appears as him as with the eyes glowing. I could really see his palace being kind of on the way towards oh God, it's Faba, right? Or what's her name?
Futaba?
Futaba. I knew it was F. I couldn't remember. Sorry. That was like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Well. Speaking of F, that's what I'm giving you for remembering her name. I'm giving you an F for that.
Okay. Well, I but more of like you see these dark characteristics of all the characters where they've said their things that they meant it as in a nice way, but it's taken in the dark route. Uh, and then of course Ryuichi's kind of the big bad guard or whatever of this one, just because of that's how I think it is, unfortunately.
Once again, I'm not. Let's not act like this is all Ryuji's fault. It's not like Morgana's an innocent player in all this. Which, in all seriousness, I kind of would want to be played off in that sense because one of the things about characters, whether they go through, well, when they go through struggles, one of the things I like is that when they admit, I did something wrong here, I did something that I shouldn't have. I'd like to think that if he had a palace and they saved him, it would also be a case of him realizing maybe I could have been better in some aspects. Because I wouldn't like it to just be, oh, we're sorry, we were mean to you, and that's basically it.
Yeah, and I could see this also leading like they destroy his palace, and then he ends up going, and that's the whole that leads into the Black Noir and all that part of the story where they're taking out her father's palace and all that. So that's what leads him to leaving is the fact that he developed a palace, so he's scared about himself.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't know a whole lot about Haru, do you?
No, because there's not much about her, unfortunately, in the series. In
Hey, on
the
the
anime.
plus side, the games do the exact same thing. But yeah,
Really?
I mean, they
These
give her they give her more, but at the same time, it's like let me put it this way: it comes a little too late.
because it's 100 plus hour video game versus a 24 episode anime with like 2 hour long specials to end it. I don't know.
They give her. Here's the thing. Let me put it this way: they give her a little more than like. They get her story is good. At the same time, it's just kind of like, wow, it took you this long to tell it. Why didn't you just introduce her a little bit earlier? But just a heads up, she is terrifying.
Okay, I mean, I can kind of see it, but not really that much. Well, because she shows up, she wants to destroy her father's palace, and that's about all the character development. Unfortunately, the anime gives her.
Yeah,
She because they relegate her to kind of okay, you're one of the other ones, so we can bring in the detective guy for the rest of the series.
we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. So I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, Morgana, just his story never feels right to me. So maybe having a palace or something, maybe it could help.
Yeah, maybe that could also, as I said, it could also lead to maybe him getting some of not his memories of what he is and all that yet, but just it kind of starts making him get flashes, so he's questions who he really is at this point. But it's like okay, well, I know what I'm here to do still at this point.
Yeah, basically that.
Uh, so your next one?
Is the next one honorable mentions?
Yep.
All right. From Soul Eater, what if the witches and the students teamed up sooner?
Okay.
Honestly, this always kind of bothered me because Medusa is a pretty despicable villain. I'm not going to deny that. At the same time, though, there are times I wonder why in the world there are people following her. I know witches don't exactly have the best history in the show from other humans and reapers, etc., etc. But I don't know. The I don't know. It seems like when they do succeed in their goal of once again resurrecting Asura, and once again, it never goes well when people do that. When they resurrect them and they realize, oh, we made a mistake, we can't control this sort of thing. they're still kind of on edge with the other humans and everything. So I'd like to think that, and they do kind of team up in some aspects, at least the people working under her do. At the same time, though, I think it would have been cooler had it just, I don't know, had it felt a little more complete, and maybe it could have led to just more interactions, especially since Death the Kid said he wanted to improve the relationship between witches and human beings.
I can kind of see it. It's kind of, from what I remember of the series, it's been, God, I think since college, last time I saw anything with Soul Eater in it. So I've never gave Soul Eater not a chance, and I've been told I shouldn't. So, um, God, yeah, it's an interesting thing because the whole purpose is that they're the Reapers always hunt the witches as their final soul to uh was it master their
Some,
weapon form and all that.
something like that.
So seeing how they would change the relationship, maybe if they that had been a big part of the series, is like there turns out witches may not always be bad. They just but they're always targeted, so they're always having to be in the shadows and do these not so good things to just survive pretty much would be an interesting take for the story.
Yeah. Not to mention, I guess to me, none of like the main ones. I feel like I'm mispronouncing Eureka and Free. I really liked the both of them, and they never seemed malicious. Especially Free. He just kind of seemed like he was there because he had nothing better to do. There's legitimately a scene where it's like, Free, you were supposed to keep the barrier up. I am. It's like, well, no, it's giving out at 40 minutes, and you said your spell lasts for an hour, and he legitimately says, I mean, I guess it's possible. Well, I over exaggerated. I mean, I'm a man after all. We do tend to show off. I'm like, he's not wrong.
Maybe I'm trying to think if there's a way we can fix the actual ending though with the whole instead of it ending with the Maka punch, it ends with something like if it still ends with the punch, maybe it's like the witches have cast a spell so that and transfer like all of the powers to Maka or something at that point. But
Something like that. Maybe Eureka's part frog, so maybe she uses her tongue to throw Maka. I don't know. It would have fixed. It wouldn't have made the ending good, but like I said, it could have made it funny in some aspects. But the witches helping could have definitely helped too. Like I said, they got a little bit in terms of some form of redemption, but it could have been a little bit better.
yeah, it's yeah. Maybe as I said, if they could use this to fix the ending, I don't remember Soul Eater well enough to fix the ending with the witches and all that. So as I said, if they managed to do that, I think it would really help and maybe change and make like what you said, Kid Death's statement have a bit more weight to it and all that.
Yeah. I mean, we could have done something. We've been enrolled there for months now.
Why did you do that?
They asked, and I'm like, we got nothing better to do. Let's go.
I'm failing all my classes, aren't I? Because I haven't showed up for class.
Believe it or not, no. I'm showing up every day, and I'm the one who's failing.
Weird. Wait, is that random test I keep getting sent in the mail and I just keep answering and sending it back?
Yep, basically,
Uh,
and much like Liz did with that guy who was bald, she's tried to tear my hair out. Soul Eater was a weird ass show.
I got to go back and rewatch it. I don't remember the ending well enough. I remember watching it and then going, okay, and then never watching it again.
Yeah.
So
And then that same episode, Patty breaks a giraffe's neck with her elbow.
that poor giraffe.
Yeah, yeah, you're telling me. But yeah, Soul Eater.
Okay. All right. So my honorable mention.
Go for it.
So again, I think my three honorable mentions are ones that you won't be able to talk too much about. Um, I'll just start with this one. And it's what if Kurogiri woke up as Obara Shirakumo from My Hero? This would be an interesting one because it would make people question because what's called a Nobu, which is the genetically altered bad guys that are look like they're the one with the brain on the
Oh
outside.
no, I know what Nobu are.
Okay, good. But having him wake up and still have kind of his powers, there's stuff that's been revealed very recently in the manga that would change this heavily, but I think it would be interesting for him to come back at the when he's kind of confronted by both of his best friends in Aizawa and President Mike. So the guy with the bags under his eyes and the loud guy. But I think that would have been a really nice moment of they woke him up, but they could still have him kind of be there's a little bit of brainwashing underneath his personality. He can't necessarily control it if he's activated or something. So be an interesting kind of back and forth. Okay, do we leave him locked up because we might end up getting activated and turning on us, or do we let him be free as a human?
I guess I can co-sign on to that. Do other people feel this way, or is this just one that popped into your head?
There's a good portion of the My Hero fan base that really wants him to come back because, especially with all that's happened with Aizawa over this, what's going on in the anime currently and what's expected to happen over like the next little bit, he needs a win. He's suffered a lot in comparison to like every other character in the series.
And I guess I can co-sign on to that.
All right. So your next one?
All right, you made me feel bad because I can't talk about one, so I have to pay you back. For Mega Man Star Force, what if Luna kept her powers?
Go on.
Okay, so I must be in a very good mood today because I'm being nice to Luna, a tsundere. She's one of the first people who actually starts to get Geo to open up, and he readily admits as Mega Man, she's not my favorite person in the world, but she wants me to get better and overcome my basically shut-in syndrome. So I want to protect her and do what I can. But she ends up getting corrupted like a good amount of other people early on in the game, because basically the aliens that let me put it this way: the spirit that helps Geo becomes Mega Man is known of is a race of aliens, and other aliens are corrupting humans like based on their sadness and the trauma they go through. A couple of people end up getting the trauma and becoming bad guys, and Mega Man saves the day. But I would have liked, like I said with Pat a couple weeks ago, I would have liked if maybe Mega Man has backup. Maybe Mega Man kind of shows, maybe they find a way to keep their powers and kind of become, I don't want to say like a Power Rangers group of some kind, but something along those lines. I think most of the characters work well as sidekicks in some aspect, but maybe it would have given them a little more to do in some ways.
Okay, so I can kind of see it. I know they did something similar in one of the Battle Network games where there are other characters that you have as like your assistant soldiers kind of thing. They're not you would still play as Mega Man, but they have like every certain set of actions they kind of appear and attack and stuff. But in the anime, it'd be just they show up and help him when they view it necessary, kind of thing.
Yeah. Not to mention, I'd like to think that it could kind of show just how far Geo has come because when Omega tells him, "Hey, you're going to be Mega Man, so get on, so you should get on and learn all this stuff." It could be a way of him kind of teaching people, just showing just how far he's come. Like not just spending time with his friends because they're friends, but also just because it's like, yeah, we need to train together, or just I need to teach you some stuff.
Okay, and it also fills the rules of a typical Mega Man game because is there like a role and all that in a role, a Guts Man, a Proto Man in the
Something
games?
along those lines, yeah.
So they could fill those kind of roles in. Is there's I know there's always side characters that seems like half the time they don't end up showing up, unfortunately.
Yeah. Not like I said, not to say they necessarily did a horrible job. I just think it could have been something kind of cool.
Okay. I'll co-sign. I don't know Star Force well enough to know the character, but it sounds kind of, from my understanding, like there's a role character from the either I think it's the Mega Man X games where she's in that case she's the sister of Mega Man, but it's I think, but she's also kind of a tsundere, but still would do anything for Mega Man.
Yeah, but for as far as I know, not a lot of people are related in these games. So yeah, but I get what you mean.
Okay, I can kind of I'll co-sign my as I said. So, all right, my next one. All right, so from that time I got reincarnated as a slime. What if Rimuru killed Rahim? So Rahim is kind of the he's kind of the pope or an archbishop of a religious organization, and he he's attacked Rimuru's village that he's built, this whole nation full of monsters and all that, and uh, saying, well, because they're monsters, they're a lower life form, and we just need to destroy them. We can't let other nations recognize them. And they attack the village, and Rimuru just decides that fine, I'm going to destroy your army and take revenge for you killing. Specifically, I think her name is Shion, is the main kind of the main character who got killed at this point in the series. So Rimuru kills like all the soldiers, reaches the point where he's actually unlocking his like the world's form of demon lord. You have to kill like 10,000 people, and having killed the army, he's killed 10,000 and actually begins the transformation, but does decide that not to kill him in the series. But in this case, let's say he kills the Pope, that would probably turn every significant country against them, because it's like, well, you killed a religious figure. Now we're gonna attack you. So I think this would really change like his relationship, because at this point he's kind of partnered with like 3 or 4 human countries that are not necessarily closest with the church. He's working on taking over one of the countries that was whose army was used for by the church to attack the monsters. So I think this would be an interesting change where it's like, okay, he's now turned all the humans against him, and now it's an all-out war between him and monsters versus the humans. So it'd be an interesting change.
So it basically ends. It basically ends like the Mr. Miyagi route. Like he thinks I could kill you and make this so much easier for everybody, but because of the kindness of my heart, I'm going to let you live. That's basically what happened, from what you're telling me. Correct?
Yeah, and tactically, he's like, I don't want to turn all the humans against me, so gonna uh I'm gonna let you live. I want to know who told you to attack me, and they're trying to figure this out and stuff. It would lead into like him becoming like literally him going from I'm a human in a monster form to I'm just a monster now kind of thing.
Yeah, but I can co-sign on to that.
Yeah, I think it would be an interesting change. I kind of like where the story went, but I think this one would be interesting as well.
Has the series gone much further than this, or what's the deal?
Um, they've done the next arc, which is the it, I can't remember what the name of it is. It's the Demon Council, pretty much. It's all everyone who's reached the rank of Demon Lord, so having killed 10,000 people and gone through the process, um, had a big council meeting to decide if Rimuru would be allowed to become a member of the council and get the title of Demon Lord. So there's a back and forth with that, but I think season 3 is either coming out late next year or the year after.
Okay.
So, all right, but that's about it. I think it would lead to an all-out war, pretty much.
And you do seem to like war.
In stories, it's a good way of telling things.
For the most part. But my last honorable mention,
Go right ahead.
what if Psyche told his friends about his powers?
Okay.
It's not a huge what if, but at the same time, and it seems like very late in the series, he wants to tell everybody, hey, I'm a psychic. Now, of course, we get the great speech from Nendo saying, hey, you don't have to worry about that. You don't necessarily have to worry about telling me, because not all secrets are meant to be shared, which is an awesome moment. At the same time, though, part of me kind of wonders, would the series have gone on any longer or changed that much if Psyche had just said, oh yeah, I'm a psychic. You see that boulder? I'm moving it.
I could see that. I could also see it because isn't if from what I remember when we were talking about it, all the characters are like supposedly represent a different kind of power from a psychic.
That is correct.
So it's just like, oh well, yeah. I mean, we all have our own individual power. It just seems like you're more powerful. You have all of our powers.
It's just like, yeah, so we give you inspiration, right? He's like, you know what? Yeah, sure. It's the last episode, so I'll let you have this.
Uh, and then of course it resets when the asteroid's coming in or something.
Something like that. Heck, it could even lead to kind of a moment where he admits, yeah, I can also read minds, and they could all be like, what, you can what? Like, you can turn it on and off. I mean, I can, but for the most part, it's been on. So, and like, so you've been listening to our thoughts. Dude, that is messed. That's not funny, dude. That is messed up.
Yeah, I don't know if I would want the kind of misunderstanding kind of thing
Oh,
happen
I
at the
know.
end of the series.
He,
That's
he,
so overused,
He could
unfortunately.
just it could just be a case of, well, you read our minds a lot. That's kind of messed up. But you've also been saving our lives and helping us and everything. You've been looking after us. We'll give it a pass. It honestly could just be a case of him being like, oh, they're gonna be mad about it. And they're just like, like, you're saving our lives, you're helping people, it's cool.
And then there's and what would he say to Nendo about because he can't read Nendo's mind, right? If I remember
That is
correctly.
correct. Apparently, there is an epilogue in one of the mangas or something where he does, because Nendo always calls him buddy or partner or something like that.
Mhm.
Maybe he could even say something along the lines of, "No, I'm good. I've got my partner," or something like that. I don't know. Nendo's story is kind of weird because apparently there was more to it, but we just never really got to learn about it. I don't know. I don't know. It's conflicting because on the one hand, I want to give Nendo his flowers because I really like him as a character. On the other hand, we also said Nathan was Nendo, so I want to say he sucks.
We get a movie called Seki K, The Story of Nendo, and it's just his entire story told with all details.
And it's narrated by Nendo himself.
Ah,
Oh, I'd buy tickets to that in a heartbeat.
I could see it. He's just born with that his face already in that shape with the mohawk and all that.
That's terrifying. That's so terrifying. But it could work. It could work, and it would be noticeably terrifying. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, what would he say to Terahashi? And I'd say nothing.
Yep, it would just be like, yeah, I know every sick thought you've had about me. Bye.
Yeah, yeah, and so do most of the fanfic writers. But this is a PG-13 show, so that's all I'm going to say about that. But anyways, let's play the credits. We're gone. We'll see you guys for next season for like 6 episodes of it. But I don't know. I think it could have been a nice moment of them all kind of understanding each other a little bit better had Psyche opened up and told them about the powers. Don't get me wrong, the ending was great regardless, but it's just something to think about.
As I said, I think I'll co-sign. I it would be interesting for him to explain that he has the powers. God, all the just how strange all the characters are. I don't know. It would be really interesting and seeing how they actually react when they realize he actually has these powers, kind of thing.
So, and then somebody could just say, "Well, yeah, guys, you know that's the plot of the show."
Just it keeps breaking the fourth wall.
Yep, because they've done it before. They made a whole episode about it. It wasn't a very good episode, but it's in line with the series.
I could see it's like he just go, well, yeah, the fourth wall is right there. And they point and he points at the screen, and it's just like they turn and they all stare into like the camera kind of goes back, and there's just a wall there.
Oh god. It just shows them staring at it just shows them staring at the camera for 5 interrupted minutes. like they'll do stuff like they'll eat popcorn or something. It just gets slowly unnerving. It's like, should I turn off the episode? Yes, about 6 or 7 minutes ago. Why are we still watching this?
Like it actually says, Seki actually says this at like the 5 minute mark. He's like, it's expected. I was like, did this freeze? It's like, no, it's just going. You should have turned this off like 6 minutes ago.
Yeah, it basically ends like the video of I have you eating mac and cheese, just staring into the camera as you're eating it. Still not the weirdest video of someone eating mac and cheese we've ever gotten, but it had. But I want to get into that.
Yeah, well, that's not difficult because that was the video instructing the person on how to correctly eat mac and cheese.
Yeah, yeah. We have a lot of weird friends, and they're about as weird. They might be. No, Psyche's friends are still weirder.
It's pretty close.
Yeah, but I'd still say his friends win out in that regard.
Uh, my final honorable mention.
Go for it. That was a lot. That last one was a lot of fun.
All right, so I kind of talked about this one at one point in the past as well, and that's what if Nezuko got human blood and became a full-fledged demon in Demon Slayer? So I think this one would end, or it would change the story because I could see her becoming one of the upper moons. She just ends up so powerful that she's ends up as like the third ranked upper moon. So we'll say she's one of the top three strongest demons under the whole group, pretty much. And you know that Tanjiro, the main character, is still wanting to fight for her, but having been so corrupted, it's so much harder for her to actually come back, if she even comes back at the end. I don't know. It could be that Tanjiro decides, well, she's unsavable now. Now I've to end my or to make this up, I have to end her, kind of thing.
Okay, I know very little about Demon Slayer, but can I try to add something to it to kind of see where it could go?
Go right ahead.
Well, maybe Tanjiro starts thinking that, but right before he like kind of fully decides on it, Zenitsu kind of has a moment like, "Hey, she's your family, and as long as there's a chance of saving her, we should save her." And Tanjiro could be like, "You just want to get with my sister." He's like, "Well, yeah, but at the same time, though, like, would you really be able to live with yourself afterwards if there was a chance at saving her? And not only did we not do it, you were the one who put it to bed and said, 'Hey, let's finish her off.'"
That would be a good story, I think, because it would give Zenitsu a big heroic moment. I'm my best bet is that he'll have one, but we're still, I think, at least 4 arcs away from the end of the series. So setting up one now would be interesting, where he's the one who really wants to still try to save Nezuko, even though she's become corrupted and is now one of the strongest demons in the world, kind of thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw it out there because it does get kind of sad sometimes how we're just like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm going to co-sign. Even if we don't know about it, I feel like I could at least try to bring something up with it.
No, that's actually very good because they, spoiler alert for the manga, 5, 4,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
they end up together and have and we know that because there's a flash forward with their descendants in modern day, and and they specifically say it's like, these are Tanjiro and so-and-so's, I can't remember which of the girls it is, and this is Nezuko and Zenitsu's kids. And then it's like, oh, and this is what's his name, the boarhead guy, I can't remember his name now off the top of my head. He's got his own descendants, but
Hey, I gave you what I could. I don't have anything else.
no, I know, I'm just trying to remember his name now. It's been a while.
Yeah, but I can co-sign, and I'm glad I was able to help in some aspect.
All right, so ready for your final one?
Let's do it. This one would be a huge change to the series, and I'm happy because you're actually able to talk about this now. What if Ren and the gang had found a way to save Akechi?
Okay, so like they discover a palace or something in him.
Something like that. Or maybe even it's just a case of they kind of figure out his plan early on. It could even be something as dramatic as just they get him into the group earlier, because as much as I love his art, his villain arc, as much as it makes sense and everything, there's a part of me that's like, dang, I really would have liked to have seen them all somehow become friends in the end. Because he and Ren, they kind of have this budding rivalry with each other. Or he kind of represents a lot of the problems the group is going through, and in that regard, he kind of works perfectly for the Phantom Thieves. The only kind of problem is Haru.
Yeah, I could see though them trying to bring in Akechi into the actual group. I'm trying to think how. I think they would either need a palace or, as you said, bring him in really early, so he'd be like brought in within the first two kind of palaces that they
Something
show.
like that. I even like the palace idea, yeah, because like I said, heck, they could like we you know it at this point. Yaldabaoth or whatever the heck its name is. To me,
Mhm.
it's not that interesting of a villain. It's powerful, but like I said, it feels so impersonal. It feels like, oh, okay, we're fighting God. Cool. Well, I
I
don't know. Maybe it could have led to, like, hypothetically, it could have led to a case of, oh, okay, we're gonna save Akechi or like stop him in some regards as the last palace, and then Royal can move on to do what Royal did.
okay. I can also see it being like so. I've recently gone and watched and found out the stories of all the other different Persona games and stuff, and just to see where the stories kind of come from. I could really see it being like, okay, this could have been the story of, because there's kind of this whole like organization kind of in the background of that seems like, okay, what if it's a random like a the head of this organization is playing God kind of thing. So trying to he's usurped the Velvet Room and all that, and is trying to use its power to corrupt humans to do his own bidding and make him the wealthiest, the strongest, the most powerful person in the world. And Akechi's been corrupted by him to try to push that agenda forward by solving crimes, but only solving the crimes that he wants. And so it's like Akechi's kind of this would give a chance to save Akechi and all that.
Yeah, not to mention, especially in the Velvet Room, Justine, Caroline, Lavenza, whichever, I feel like it was Lavenza at that point. They were like, oh, there were two people who have the wild card ability to use multiple personas. One is Akechi and one is you. And they never interact with Akechi, really. Well, at least not really. Like, maybe just a couple of interactions, like, I don't sense any malice at this point. We can trust him. But just in case, keep your eyes on him. There's like what? There's like 10 of you. I think you can take him at this point.
Yeah, and it's slowly revealed, as he said, he still has his bad guy. He's working kind of both sides almost. They discover that yeah, he's actually being controlled kind of, and then uh either destroys Palace or free him from the control. And so now you've got them as kind of the him and Ren are the stereotypical rivalry. Both are the most powerful or close to the most powerful, and it comes down to them to save the day at the end together.
Yeah. And like it kind of showed in the anime, they have one last battle between the two. It's just like, all right, we're settling this. After everything we've been through, we have to settle this between each other. And Ren just pulls out the chessboard that they've been playing with the whole series. Set them up. And Ryuji's like, this is dumb. This is dumb. I'm going home.
And that would be a nice ending with Ren finally beats Akechi at this point.
Something like that.
And we could still end up with that moment of him tossing the king across the room to him.
He tosses it, but this time one of them's not paying attention. It just hits them. Ow! What was that for?
Do you still want Akechi to have a big sacrificial moment like he does in the anime?
You know, he has. It feels like he has so many of them in different forms of media. I kind of just want to be. Part of me says it works for his character, but the fan of me is like, I'm just so sick of it. So Either let us know that he's fully dead, it's just there's nothing we can do about it, or just have him be alive. Because, like I said, Royal did not do a good job of that. It just left more questions than answers.
So does this also end up that we okay? So we're let's say we keep Akechi alive as and does this change Strikers to the point where it becomes Scooby Doo? They literally are traveling across the country solving mysteries as he's the detective and the rest of them are just going with him.
Yeah, pretty much. And they have a giant blue vehicle called the Mystery Mobile.
And they have a talking animal. This time it's just a cat.
Yeah, yeah. And anytime they have to leave, despite how serious he is, Yusuke of all people is super goofy. So as he's saying that, he could yell to the Mystery Mobile, and then they run off.
Yeah. And in this case, they have Ryuji snacks.
Yeah, it's just beef. It's just beef. Straight up beef in a package.
Yeah, beef jerky. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, they go to America. They find Mike Tyson in his mystery van, and they move. We get a crossover.
Knowing us, we'd watch it.
I'd watch. Yeah, I knowing us, we're writing it, which we're kind of doing right now. But in all seriousness, Akechi just I don't know. They got him right, but there are a lot of what ifs surrounding him, and frankly, it gets kind of frustrating at times because I'm like, either keep him dead or just let us know he's alive. It's frustrating in some aspects.
Yeah, because we know he is either killed or sacrifices himself in the final palace, or yeah, I guess it's the final palace, but it's like okay, does they state that if you die in the palace, you die in real life, but do you really? Or do you just wake up back in the Velvet Room or back in the real world?
Something like that. At that, and then at the end, when it's just the two of them leaving the cafe, he can say to Haru, "Oh, and sorry about the whole killing your dad thing. That wasn't nice of me." And she just stares at him like, "I hate you."
Another thing that could end help is that he goes on air and reveals stuff with like about Ren that leads to them kind of like oh by the way they this politician I can't remember his name has
Shido.
okay Shido has been lying and got this innocent boy arrested and all this and it leads to like a whole change in the system and all that and that's what saves uh Ren at the end.
Yeah, and he's like, "Now we're even." And yeah, but basically, I like the idea too. That's cool.
Yeah. But yeah, as I said, I think that was another one that we were both able to really talk a lot about.
That's good. I'm wondering about your last one, but who knows at this point?
I think you'll be able to talk about it because it's arguably one of the biggest changes I think I could have made, and it's in one of the biggest animes in the world.
Okay.
What if Luffy died instead of Ace?
Yikes.
So in this case, so Luffy dies. This is in my version of this. It's I'm going to include spoilers for the manga. So it's recently been revealed that Luffy's fruit is actually the Nika Nika fruit, which is the sun god, which works because of Luffy's creativeness, but it could also technically work for Ace's fruit being the flare fruit and all that. So being fire. So then we could still have the connection with Sabo and all that. Ace with Whitebeard dead, Ace kind of goes disappears for a while trying to figure out what he wants to do. And he decides he wants to continue Luffy's journey. He'll complete Luffy's missions and all that. So he takes up the straw hat. Pretty much he wants to return to Shanks. He doesn't have the connection, but he wants to give it to Shanks, and then decides, well, I need to form a crew, and he decides that, well, I'll get Luffy's crew. And so the first arc could be him traveling the world and finding Luffy's crew and convincing them to travel with him and complete what they set out to do.
The only issue I have with this is you're assuming everybody would still be alive at that point. Because if Luffy dies and Boa Hancock finds out, then everybody's getting stomped.
That's very true, but that means that maybe there's a different set of Marines instead now, and
Yeah, that's true.
I could still see um, him, and he'd still have a rivalry with Blackbeard because Blackbeard beat Ace previously. So it's like, okay, now I want to face you again, and this time I won't lose. He wants to, if we still have Akainu as the admiral, it's like I wasn't hot enough. I wasn't able to beat you this time, so there's a rivalry there.
Also, you killed my brother and everything. That's a minor point.
Yeah, there's also the fact that his kind of father figure and Whitebeard's been killed, but then there's still a connection though to the Whitebeard pirates and stuff. So he may he would I wouldn't want to call him, maybe when they reform they still use the Straw Hat Pirates, but he's not Straw Hat Ace, he's something else.
As long as they would keep Luffy's hat in some regard, put it somewhere.
Yeah, not necessarily that Ace carries it around. He still wants to return it to Red Hair Shanks, but he's like he leaves it on like maybe there's like a bust of Luffy that they put in on the Sunny, and the Straw Hat stays on that.
It's not even a static ick or stoic ick bust of Luffy. It's him when he's trying to eat something.
Yeah, it's just
like his jaw's completely unhinged, trying to eat a piece of meat.
Yeah, I think this would be a really interesting one. As I said, where the manga is now with the whole Nika Nika fruit reveal, it still works because Sun kind of fire Sun. It would work that way. It's revealed that the flare fruit looks exactly the same as the Nika fruit or something kind of thing, where they reveal that, or they could bring Sabo back and he gets the gum fruit.
Yeah, I like Sabo. I actually know Sabo. I actually really like Sabo.
Yeah, I wish that they had introduced him a little earlier in the series,
Agreed.
but just so that we could feel okay. So we lost him, unfortunately, and it would set up the fact that people died, but then they could bring him back as they did without his memory and all that. And it plays the same story, just
wait. They bring Luffy back?
No, Sabo.
Oh, okay.
Where they still have him killed off in like the first half of the series, and then when they reach the second half is when they revealed that he survived, and they do the same Dressrosa arc kind of thing.
Yeah, and he looks a lot like Sanji for some reason.
Kind of.
They both have yellow hair, and
they both dress snazzy.
Yeah, the hairstyle's kind of the same, but yeah. Here's the thing. I'm conflicted because on one hand it does sound interesting, but it's also a case of I like Luffy too much to want him to die at this point.
I kind of agree, but I just think this would make a very interesting One Piece movie. I think maybe like
I was gonna say out of all the anime, One Piece seems to have the most movies by comparison.
Yeah, there's like I don't know 15 of them, and then movies that retell entire arcs. So the way I see this happening is that how to put it, this is like the movie, like Naruto the Last. They released this as like One Piece the Last, or One Piece story Ace or something, and it's like we've just ended our story of the Straw Hat Pirates, but what if? And it jumps literally like the book opens at halfway point, and and that's where it changes.
So when you say that's the end, basically the end of One Piece, now we're doing something different. So you mean like the next 40 to 50 years, because it's not ending.
Well, no, I meant more of just like it's a movie that you get scenes and tells the story of what, like, you get some time in Dressrosa, and you get the fight, like him versus Doflamingo, and then you get him versus the Big Mom Pirates, and then him versus Kaido and all that, where it's Ace instead of Luffy, that sort of thing.
Remind me the name of the clown?
Buggy the Clown.
Yeah, I like to think that he would really be affected by Luffy's death.
I could see it. I could really see it. It would be he'd want revenge on the Admiralty just because it's like, well, I wanted to kill Straw Hat kind of thing.
It could start off very comedic, but then as it progresses, he could show like, no, he really misses Luffy. That would be so sad.
It'd be interesting because his whole goal is to get the Straw Hat so that he can give it back to Red Hair Shanks instead. It's like, I want to return the hat, and he just keeps rushing to get the hat.
Yeah, because the first time he sees it's like, hey, you stabbed my hat with your claws. It's like, what? It's just a hat. Look at it. How much realistically could this go for? It's like, oh, it's from Shanks. Oh, okay. And then he just hits it again. I'm like, you're a monster.
Yeah, as I said, it'd be an interesting back and forth, I think, with him and Ace both trying to return the hat, but Boogie doesn't realize it. He thinks that they're just leaving the hat as a memorial to Straw Hat.
Yeah, but I can co-sign. No matter how painful it would be, I think I could get through it.
As I said, I think this would make a good movie that just retells the story from that point on, from the just changing that point, making like a 2-hour movie or something.
Well, it's One Piece. It wouldn't be One Piece if it wasn't long.
That is very true, because we're in what we thought was going to be the final arc, and it's like, no, this isn't even close to the final arc. We're in the final, whatever book of the series it's going to be, but supposedly.
And one eternity later, it will still be going. But yeah, I can co-sign.
All right, but I think that about wraps us up.
All right, so ladies, gentlemen, and others, what are some anime what-ifs that you would like to see? Be as descriptive or just not as much as you want in the comments. And are there any what-ifs that we talked about that you would like to see, that you have problems with? Let us know.
Do you want us to expand on them? Like, do a 15-minute video of us telling like step-by-step what happens that we see in these? Because we can kind of consider doing that, I guess.
I don't know if we'll be able to do it in 15-minute increments, but I understand what you mean. We can always talk about it.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to be a what-if channel, but we can always give it a shot if we want.
I'm willing to give everything a shot. I'm willing to give us dubbing comics on the channel a shot at this point.
Yeah, it might be worth it. It could be interesting.
I already know what we're doing for Pokemon, because that would be awesome. But anyways, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that other nonsense. And we'll see you guys next time. This has been Alex.
And Richard.
And you have been listening to Anime Egotists. Good night. Peace easy.